Hi Posture Fam, welcome to today's class. It's called Explore the Core. I almost forgot the name of the class. Explore the Core. And this class is basically a few posture drills relating to the deep core abdominal wall, a sort of introduction into how you test whether you have a stable and a responsive and adaptable core, or whether you have an overactive core, which in my view is a very sort of chronic problem for most people. And then we're going to sort of put that into a 30-minute flow. So all you're going to need, I try and keep this first class a little bit simple for you. You're just going to need 2 blocks. And without further ado, what we're going to do is just get into an awareness, and before we start our posture drills, we're going to start sort of learning how we tell whether we've got a sort of, I like to call it holding your wee, holding your poo type core, like a really strong braced core. And if this is you and you're not aware of it, all I want you to do is really feel like you're bracing the core. So go ahead and brace the core. You can see that my neck is kind of like popping out my veins. And from this position, it's a bit difficult to do it as I talk, but as you brace the core, I want you to try and take a big breath in. It's almost impossible to breathe to a natural, fuller capacity when you're held down in this position. Now try and do it in this kind of holding your pelvic floor together by just bracing the space between your hip bones, the deep sort of underbelly of the abdominal wall, the transverse muscles. We're going to try and just hold those very gently so it creates a stability rather than a overaction in the core abdominals. And just by holding the space between our pelvic region, we're going to take a big breath in and exhale. So that was a really simple test to help you gauge whether you've got a sort of overactive core, which can limit just a very simple function such as breathing. And then you can only imagine what it does when you're trying to move. The other way to do it is hold the pelvic floor muscles, not in a clench, where your rectus the rectum or the sort of deep core of the pelvis is kind of clenched. What you're doing is just bracing it a little bit to feel like there's a sort of support underneath the pelvic floor organs. And you're holding this position and then freeing up the lung capacity and holding your shoulders and your ribs really nice and relaxed to take a big breath in. It doesn't mean that I'm just letting loose with my ribs popping forwards and my pelvis in an anterior position to be able to feel like I need to breathe. This is not actually a neutral or an optimal position to be in when we sort of, are on our mat. If it doesn't cause you any discomfort, it's arguable that maybe it's okay for you. But from my experience, we're trying to get our body in the best design possible to then function well in all the joints. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to sit in a hero's pose, your bum to the heels. Palms are on your thighs open to the sky. If this sitting in this position causes you any discomfort, all you're going to do is just grab a block and stick it right between the inner ankle joints or the foot joint. And we're going to sit nice and tall with both the sit bones on top of a block. Palms go onto the thighs, and all we're going to do here is we're going to start by just feeling the rock of our pelvis forwards and back. So I'm just going to keep this left hand behind my head so you can see the movement of my lower body. I'm going to go anterior, posterior, anterior, posterior, and here you'll notice that I'm not jabbing my ribs as I move my pelvis. So I'm already starting to disassociate my lower extremity to my upper. And I'm just going to do this a few times. Upper and lower. And then from here, keeping the pelvis in a neutral position, head above the line of the pelvis, we'll just take a nice big breath in. Expanding the belly on the inhale and then contracting the abdominal wall on the exhale. This is your actual first core drill, is the art of breathing. We're going to try and inhale for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 6 to 8. When you're ready, you can have the hands on the belly to assist. Inhaling as you dilate the belly through the nose, and then exhaling through pursed lips for a count of 6 or 8. And again, inhale. And exhale. Last one, inhale. And exhale. So that's a really easy way for you to test whether you have a responsive and adaptable core rather than something that's constantly clenched and actually proving to be a bit of a barrier to the response of your upper and your lower body. In posture assessment and everything I do, I'm trying to help people understand the importance of relaxing the core when you're not actually in need of it, but having it engage a lot like your bladder, which is an organ. It tells you when it needs to sort of release and it tells you when it needs to contract. And you only do it on demand. So we're not in this capacity where we're just constantly clenching the core or constantly bracing ourselves. We need to learn that the core abdominal is actually a container and a passage for the upper and the lower extremity to do their work. From here now, we're going to get onto our back, and what we're going to test is also whether people have a stable core. And the way to do this is by testing whether you have the ability to what we call web the core abdominals together by pulling the sacrum down and the belly button down to the floor, or whether you actually have what we call a doming kind of motion where the belly button pops up and you've got this kind of doming sort of shape in the belly and you feel like you're actually sort of hurting or putting a lot of pressure in your lower spine. So we're going to lie down on our back. I'll just undo my hair here to get the sacrum neutral, the skull neutral down to the floor. And we're going to have our feet hip distance. And all we're going to start doing is from here, keeping your hands out to the side with the palms facing up. A really good way to test this is simply by lifting the cervical spine and the head a little bit off the floor. If you find this difficult, you can have one hand to the back. I'll use my right hand here so it doesn't obstruct the view of the camera. And I'm going to have my right hand behind the skull. And the only way that you're going to test whether you have a sort of stable core is as you lift the chin and bring it slowly close towards your throat, you ought to see that the belly button stays down to the floor and that actually you feel like you're contracting the top ribs, and naturally the space between your pelvis and the hip bone starts to contract inwards and downwards. And I haven't got this kind of arching sort of hollow type feeling in my lower back. And if you can't see this happening, and alternatively what happens here is this type of feeling, and I'm hoping you can see it close up in the camera, you can see that here my neck actually pops up towards the ceiling, my belly button's going up towards the ceiling, and my rib cage is actually feeling a bit hollow, and I've got this kind of doming shape happening into my belly. So the sides of my hip between the abdominals and the hip bones is hollow. And if this is happening to you, essentially what I'm going to recommend for these particular core drills is that you start at a very short or lower, less intensity range of motion. So that's another really good way of testing whether you've got a stable, responsive, and adaptable core. We're going to start just by grabbing a block and sticking it right between the thighs. You can have it in the sort of the medium setting. This is usually a hip distance apart for most people. And all we're going to start by doing here is pelvic tilts. This is the first core drill that we're going to test. So we're going to push our palms into the tops of the thighs, shoulders back and down, and slide the skull away so that your head is neutral into the floor. And all we're going to start doing from here is we're gonna bring the pelvis into a slight anterior tilt with the lower spine lifting off the floor. This is safe to do so. Please don't fear the fact that, you know, we're working this range of motion. Obviously, we don't want to live in a posterior or an anterior tilt. We want to live in a more neutral pelvis position. But as we're working drills and just kind of gauging what actually feels neutral and therefore allowing the muscles to contract in the right way, we're going to do pelvic tilts. So the pelvis is in anterior position. I've got a firm sort of push of my hands into the tops of the thighs here, just to give my glutes some ability to contract, but also my lower back to find some space. And as I bring the pubic bone up, you'll notice I don't have to push, engage the neck muscles and feel like my belly button is popping upwards. This is actually a sort of, I don't like to use the word weak, it's too negative, but essentially this is an unstable contraction of your core abdominals. And you'll find that actually you're not able to use your core abdominals, so we have to go back and start at the basics. So we're just going to do a few pelvic tilts here. We'll go for 9. Keep squeezing the block about 60 to 70%. You'll feel the adductor muscles, the inner thigh muscles working too. Feel the feet firm down onto the floor. That's it. Ribs are staying down. The head is staying neutral back to the down to the floor. Let's go for 4 more. 2, 3, and 4. Good. And then from here, we're going to just relax the hands. Place the hands just behind the skull, elbows going wide. Before we come into any kind of lift of our shoulders, I'm going to ask us just to feel like we can go into some hip lifts with the block between our knees. Now, in order for us to gauge the range of motion here, this is our second drill, I'm going to ask you very carefully just to feel like the sacrum's down and your belly button's pulling down to the floor. Feel like you're webbing the muscles underneath your ribs. My breastbone doesn't lift, nor do my ribs, and I'm opening across the chest wall here as well. As I take a big breath in through the nose, I will exhale by pulling the ribs and all the muscles around the intercostal area down, exhaling, and as I simultaneously exhale, I'm going to lift my feet about 2 inches off the floor. My lower back stays planted, and I really have to engage not just the hip flexor muscles, the muscles that basically contract the leg up into the thigh or give us flexion in our hip. I'm actually having to contract my obliques, my intercostal muscles, as well as my transverse and the pelvic floor muscles. So a lot happening here. Okay, so elbows back, inhaling. As you exhale, bracing the belly button down, the sacrum down, and I lift. Squeezing the block about 60 to 70% and down. Inhale, exhale, and lift. Good. Inhaling. To challenge yourself a little bit more, you actually lift the feet not too far off the floor. It makes it harder in those abdominal wall muscles. So if you need to, it's a bit ironic, if you want a sort of less intensity, you exhale and you lift the knees a little bit more towards you. Becomes a little bit more hip centric, but that's okay. Let's do 4 more together, and I'll leave you to do as many as you like just to practice. Inhale, exhale, and lift. Big breath in. This is safe for young mums to do. Obviously, I would recommend that you get a pelvic floor health specialist to give you clearance on what's going on in the pelvic floor pre or postnatally. And anyone who's kind of suffering from lower back issues, 90% of the time, you may have been told strengthen the core and get your core sort of, you know, more active. But there's active and then there's responsive and adaptable and stable. So I invite you just to rethink how you're regarding the core and how it functions. And if you can actually talk and do some core drills at the same time, that's a really good way to gauge the sort of concept of responsive and adaptable. We'll do one last one. And down. Good. And then if we just want to add on here, I'll invite you just to do a sort of deep set of abdominal drills here, inspired by the Lit Yoga method, all about sort of more core and how we embrace the core in a smart and intelligent manner. Taking a nice big breath in here, keeping the spine neutral, sacrum down, shoulders down. I invite you to wrap the forearms around the temples. Chin is neutral. We're not just jarring the chin towards the throat. And as you exhale, head and shoulders lift. So this is just the same concept as lifting the neck, just to check whether you're doming. Keep pulling the navel down and lift the elbows up as if they're going above the knee line. Big breath in and lower. Exhale to lift. Body shaking head to toe. Inhale. Good. And exhale to lift. Big breath in. And this is such a good indication that essentially what makes the core even more stable is a stable pelvis and stable shoulders. They don't work alone. Nothing in the body works alone. Inhale to lower. Good. Exhale to lift. And just to signify that, we're going to keep the shoulder blades off the floor. Keep your right hand behind the skull and just wave the left elbow open out to the east side of the left side of your mat. Chin stays neutral and supported. Feel the weight of the hands into the palms. Left elbow in, roll the shoulders down, big breath in. Exhale to lift. Right elbow opens wide. Keep the shoulders lifted, chin is supported, head is supported. Pull the navel down, feel the space between your pelvic floor muscles, hold. Right elbow in, shoulders down, big breath in. And exhale to lift. Left elbow open. Left elbow in, shoulders down. Exhale to lift. Right elbow opens, hold. Right elbow in, inhale to lower. We've got 3 more with an add-on. Stay with me. Big breath in and exhale to lift. Lift your left leg. Keep squeezing the block between the knees. And then this time open the left elbow. So we're going same side, hold. Left elbow in, left foot down. Big breath in and lower. Exhale to lift. Indication of you can lower the capacity of the demand in the legs by just keeping the knee bent and keep it on the floor if it's still too much for you. Right leg lift and right elbow out. Right elbow in, right foot down. Big breath in. 2 to go. Exhale to lift. Left leg extends, left elbow out. See if you can lift the right heel at a demand. Left elbow in, right heel down, left foot down. Inhale, lower. Exhale to lift. Right leg lift. Right elbow out. Chin and shoulders stay lifted and supported. Left heel lift. Left heel down, right leg down. Inhale, lower. Last one here. Exhale to lift. Left leg reaches up. Left elbow out. Right heel lift. Pull the shoulders higher. Left elbow in, right heel down, left foot down. Inhale, lower. Exhale to lift. Right leg up. Last one. Right elbow out, left heel lift. 3, 2, and 1. Good. Right foot down, release. Straight away, just hug the knees into the chest. And breathe. The ability for us to bring the knees into the chest without lifting the lower belly off the floor, or the sacrum off the floor rather, that's also an indication of a sort of freed up core, I like to call it, in order to allow hip flexion instead of feeling like it has to dome into the abdominal wall. Going to keep our arms in a goalpost position here. Bring the block as close as you can in towards your rib cage with the sacrum staying down. And then very gently just pull the knees over to the left elbow, pull them up and in towards the left elbow, just getting a nice stretch into the right side, the obliques, transverse, and turn the right side. Turn the head to the right side. Coming straight into our core flow here. All we're going to do is keeping the knees up and over towards this left side. We're going to start circling this right arm over towards the left, reach this right arm over and back as you keep sort of turning the head with the direction of the palm. Let's go for 3 more on this side. Last one. And then from here, other direction, forwards, down, back and round. Palm faces the floor as it reaches over the line of that right knee. Palm faces up as it comes over the line of the head. So a stable core here allows us to stabilize the hips. And as we stabilize the hips, we free up the thoracic spine and the shoulders. Amazing. Stay here. And all you're going to do is bring that right arm in a goalpost, and you're going to rock the knees as you brace the space between the hip bones, lift the knees into the chest, use that core abdominal work that we've just done to lift and place the knees over to the right side. Grounding the outer right ankle, look over to the left, take a big breath in and breathe. Back of the palm staying down, fingers wide, relax the neck. Big breath in again. Amazing. And then when you're ready, start to circle this left arm. Slight protraction as it reaches to the right side of the room, a slight retraction when it reaches to the left side of the room. Inhaling on the protraction, exhaling on the way down. Inhaling. My top hip doesn't move from being stacked over the right or the lower hip. Just be mindful. Trying to engage the transverse and more of the oblique here, as well as the lateral parts of the body. And then other direction. Good. Good. And then just release the left elbow, hug the knees back in towards the chest, bring the feet down, relax your legs. And when you're ready, I'm just going to come over. And what we're going to do straight away is we're going to come onto all fours. And as we reset and activate the glutes, you're going to come onto hands and knees. You can just put your blocks off to the side for a moment. Hands underneath your shoulders. Okay, so from here, keep the toes tucked, long big breath in. And then all we're going to do is turn the left palm down towards the left knee. We're going to push the hands into the floor, feel the lower belly lifted. Keep your chin neutral and look forwards with the face, and then tuck the chin down towards the throat. From here, we're going to straighten the right leg back, take a big breath in, lift the right heel, engage the glutes, tap your right knee to the right elbow. Right knee taps down. Step it back, lift, pull from the hip, the front of the flexor, right knee taps the right elbow. If you're there, slide the right knee down towards the right wrist, then slide it back, right leg lift, right knee, right elbow. Slide the right knee down towards the right wrist line. I'm not compromised in either of my shoulders. Right knee steps back, right leg back, engage the right glute as you push the hands, engage the core. Right knee, right heel will lift, right knee to the right elbow. Down, slide it back, got one more on this side. Right knee to the right elbow, slide it down. And back. Up and down. Step the right knee to the right side of the mat, switch your hands. Right fingers turn to the back of the mat, left hand forwards. Fingers are nice and wide, thumbs pulling to the right side and thumb pulling to the inside of the mat retrospectively. Get into your neutral pelvic position, neutral spine and skull position. And when you're ready, take a big breath in. step the left leg back. As you step your left leg back, feel the big toes, engage the glutes, lift the heel. I'm not dripping in my pelvis or my shoulders. I keep everything by pushing the hands to the floor. And then I pull the left knee up towards the left elbow as much as I can. Slide my left knee down just in front of my left wrist line. And then back. 6 on this side, lift. Big breath in and down. Step it back. Lift. Forwards. Down. And back. Lift. Forwards. Down. And back. Lift. Forwards. Down. And back. Last one. Down. Left knee to the right. Let's take a dolphin here. Bring your forearms to the floor and spread the fingers nice and wide. Roll the shoulders towards the ceiling or round the shoulders here. Drop your head. Tuck your toes and lift up. Good. Let's just walk out the heels here. Bring the thighs in towards your chest as you bend the knees. Drop your head. Here we go. Left leg lifts up just to hip level. Take a big breath in. Feel the space between the hip bones nice and neutral, but engage. Push the forearms down. Lower the line of the left toes and then abduct the left foot to the left side of the room. So we're kicking the left leg out. We're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Step the left foot off the mat, down and lift the right leg. Push the forearms into the floor, stay with me. Feel the left leg having to do some work, lower the line of the right heel. Here we go. Push the forearms as you abduct right leg. 1, watch my right toes, they stay down to the floor. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right foot down. Bring the knees down. Pull back, take a child's pose. Head down and just breathe. Good. We're going to just come lie down on our belly and keep a block with you just in case. But you may not need one. So it depends on where your shoulders and your pelvis are in relation to one another. But we're going to do one of my absolute favorite core drills. And this is called the strawberry smoosh move. Okay, so you want to imagine that you've got a strawberry underneath your belly. And the idea is that with your belly button, you're not allowed to squish the strawberry. So this might affect the position of my mic, but I don't think it will. You're going to have your hands long, shoulders in flexion, so arms straight just by the line of the ears. Cupcake your fingers nice and strong. So you're also working the wrists and the arm muscles. Bring your forehead down to the floor, tops of the feet into the floor and hip distance. And what we're trying to do here is reach the fingers to the front of the room. Forehead is down. And then what we're going to do from here is we are going to practice that pelvic tilt. So we go anterior pubic bone lifts slightly off the floor. Please do not be tempted to use your knees here. And then pubic bone lifts. Belly button lifted off the floor. But I'm not holding breath. And to my muscles, my pelvic floor, my transverse, my oblique muscles. And if you needed just some guidance, you can see here, kind of pop out the other side in this kind of hollow shape. Oh, try to do that as you speak for about a minute. Responsive core, adaptable core. Forehead down, we're just going to do 5 or 6 of those. Keeping the shoulders in,
Shoulder blades elevated. Feel like you're reaching for something on the top shelf with the arms. Tops of the feet to the floor. Here we go. Anterior. Bit of a brain game with the breath. Exhale on the posterior here. And inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Way down. Inhaling. Exhaling. Bum has to work pretty hard too.
Amazing. Breathe. Seeing as we're already down on the belly, we're going to take an active cobra here just for a minute. So turn the toes in, heels out, and bring your elbows just underneath your rib cage. Forearms down and make a modified golfer's grip. So modified golfer's grip, fingers into the base of the palms, thumbs pulling up. And your arms are perpendicular to the sides of the mat first. And I want you to really feel like you're getting a stretch in the psoas in the front of the abdominal wall by pushing the forearms down, opening the chest to the front of the room, but relax your legs. And if this is too difficult for you in your lower spine, take your legs wide. And that should hopefully help you sort of just get some capacity in that sort of lumbar spine and the extension of the thoracic spine. Okay? So figure out a way just to feel like you're opening into the front of the abdominal wall. If you're with me in your active cobra, then you step the hands out about 10 degrees to the sides of the mat, look forwards and breathe. Shoulders are not rounded. I push the floor and I'm lifting the chest open. I just adjusted my elbows there, just FYI. I felt like they were too far forwards, and I find the more underneath they are on my rib cage, the less I feel this, feeling like it's compressing my lower back. Amazing. Bring your head down. Straight away and rise up. Come into a downward dog. Ooh. Pushing the hands into the floor. Feel the lift of the space between your hip bones. Push the hands into the floor. And breathe.